Yes, guys, Ryjack back for another live stream. We are here again, back-to-back days doing a live stream. Yes, I am back. I love doing the live streams and talking, chopping it up with the chat like always. So, if you guys are in the chat, always engaged. Let me know your thoughts on everything, and we can chop it up about City Palace. We can talk about the transfers that have been going on today. And if you're watching on playback, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I will respond to every single comment as I always do. Palace game thoughts, as well as the latest transfers we will go over in this stream today. There is a lot of news out there, and a lot of positive news. I won't lie. I like the positivity around the transfer window, although there are some potential, news about players maybe leaving. People don't like that. I understand, but it's all part of it, and that's what we're here to discuss. So, if you are new, hit subscribe. I do appreciate it. We're almost at 700 subs, going for 1,000. And like the stream as well. Get some more people in, make the stream more interactive, and I always appreciate that. So, anyway, let's start it off talking about the Palace game here. I've got it pulled up. FotMob, as I always use. FotMob is the best site to use, in my opinion. I know some people like SofaScore, but me personally, I like FotMob. I think they have the best sort of interface and UI, and I like it. So let's talk about Palace maybe first. I came into this game pretty worried. I was nervous. Palace is a tough place to go. Sellers Park, the fans, it feels like they're right on top of you. It's not a very big stadium. It's 25,000 people, but it does feel like a difficult place to go. We haven't had a great record there this year. Palace have done really well in the Premier League for this season. They went with a pretty typical lineup. Notably, of course, they didn't have Daniel Munoz, who is really talented right wing back, maybe even one that would move to another club, the bigger club. You can see Barcelona as a name linked for him. We got to see a couple of players City may be interested in purchasing. Mark Gahey, probably most notably at the moment, out of contract in summer 2026. Likely to be England starting one of their starting center backs in the World Cup. He could leave on a free or go somewhere in January. I would guess January move is likely for Gahey. Will it be City, somewhere else, Real Madrid maybe, Liverpool, who knows? We shall see. And Adam Wharton, excuse me. What a player Adam Wharton is, by the way. I was not, over the top keen on Adam Wharton for some time, but after yesterday, it did he moved me. I can't lie. I thought he was the best player on the pitch. I know we won the game 3-0. Holland had a brace. Foden was really good. Cherky was really good, but for me, Adam Wharton was the best player on the pitch, and I'd give him man of the match, even though they lost 3-0. That's how good I thought he was. Dean Henderson, not his best day. Probably should have been a little bit better on Foden's goal. Didn't seem up for it. Not a great performance from Dean Henderson, unfortunately. Tadic Mitchell's all right. Lacroix, pacey center back, really good. Nice to see Chris Richards, the American, of course. Kamada, I thought, was pretty solid. Pino could have scored a couple, didn't take his chances, unfortunately, for Palace. Sarr was in there, caused some problems, found himself off sides quite a bit, and not the best performance from Mateta, even though, in general, I do think Mateta is a top quality type striker for the Premier League. So those are my thoughts on the Palace lineup, and I do feel that they were, in general, probably the better team throughout the game. I feel like 3-0 is very flattering for us personally. It felt like Palace could have had 3-4 goals themselves. They ended up not taking their chances. City had considerably, at least it felt like, less opportunities to score, but somewhat in a reverse of what we've seen throughout most of the season. We actually took our chances, and while there were minimal, we put home 3 goals, which, that's not really been the case for City this year. It felt like we maybe scored 2, but could have had 6. We scored 1, could have had 5. And this one really felt like there was only 3 opportunities, and we took all of them, which is nice to see. But, of course, you would like to maybe be a bit more defensively sound, because it felt like Palace were all over us for times in this game. I will take a look at the stats here and just kind of back my argument there. I know we had more possession, but that's pretty typical. You look at the XG, I mean, 1.88 to 1.19. They almost doubled us in XG. They had 9 more shots than us. We had 2 big chances, didn't miss any, which how many times have we seen 0 big chances missed in a game? I feel like not very many, personally. We did outpass them, of course, obviously, but I mean, just look at the shot charts for what City had to work with. They have a beautiful outside the box goal from Foden, which he's just been in firing form lately. Of course, it goes in. That's the one I feel like Henderson should have done better on. Holland scores from the penalty mark, which he's just going to do. And then here is the Holland header, which was a beautiful header. Fantastic right side of the pitch cross from Nunes, who has really improved as a right back at times. I know occasionally he drops not the best performance, but something that he offers is that crossing ability that other players who play right back for us just don't have. And he put it on a plate. Holland headed it home. Maybe Henderson should do a bit better there as well. XG was only 0.19, but it's a really good finish for Erling Haaland. This was a free kick. Foden, this was late on, had no angle really. And Tijani Reinders here was just right at the keeper. So, like I said, in general, it felt like we didn't have many more opportunities than the 3 goals we had. 3 opportunities, 3 goals is fantastic finishing from a City perspective, which we just haven't seen much of this year at all. So I find that interesting. I don't know if that means this is a statement win where, we can defend for longer periods of the game and take on attacks, and then when we get our few chances, we take them. That doesn't feel like the Man City way to me particularly. Maybe that will be more of what we do going forward, but it was definitely a different type of win, I would say, for City as a whole. If you look at the individual player ratings here, Donnarumma comes up pretty big, obviously gets the clean sheet, had a couple of saved opportunities that he did take. He was pretty decent on crosses. I know he's had some troubles there, but no notable errors really. Nunes gets the assist like I talked about. A really good performance from Mateus. Diaz-Gavardiol partnership continues to build. I like what I'm seeing from those 2 guys. And really, it's not unfortunate that they're playing so well, but it's unfortunate we're not seeing any minutes for Kusanov. John Stones is injured. Nathan Ake is not really getting any minutes right now either, which I'm more fine about that one. But I would like to see Kusanov get some minutes. He's just not at the moment. And I guess it's just because they're playing so well and Pep doesn't want to change the team up. As far as a left back, Nico O'Reilly, another really, really solid performance, staking his claim to be England's left back at the World Cup. Maybe he will, maybe he won't, but I would be hard-pressed to find many left backs playing better than him in the Premier League this season. And he's keeping out our summer signing, Ryan Knight-Norrie, who we bought for whatever it was, £40 million, and he just doesn't play because O'Reilly has done such a good job in terms of his in-game performance, so much that he is England's number 1 left back right now, which is just crazy to me. Nico Gonzalez continually plays well. I would say this is maybe a little bit less solid of a performance from him. I felt like he gave the ball away a few times, maybe wasn't quite quick enough in getting it out of his feet, but the guy has played so much game time, has had so much game time for us lately that I'm not surprised he looked kind of gassed out there. In all honesty, he's played over 1,000 minutes in the Premier League, and if you look at his minutes, it's just 90 minutes, 90, 90, 90, 90. Came off against Fulham, we capitulated, 90, 90, 90. The guy never doesn't play because no one else in the squad can play his position. And, I mean, it's slightly concerning. You go all the way back to October 29th. He has played the full 90 in every game bar one. That's a month and a half straight of playing 90-minute football minus one game. That is unsustainable, I would say. And it's just, that's how it's going at the time. We don't have other players available and ready to play in this position. And it's basically the most important position in a Pep side. Weirdly as it may be, that it seems to be the case. So it's an area I would look potentially to strengthen very soon. But will we get Rodri back? When will we get Rodri back? Will we get Kova back? Is Kova anywhere near the player he was pre this Achilles injury that he may have had? You never know. What I do know is Nico Gonzalez playing this much football until the end of the year is not going to work, and he's going to get injured and be out for some time, which you never want to see. Cherokee continues to impress in the times he is on the pitch. 90 minutes is, he hasn't done that quite as much as maybe some people would have hoped, but he is slowly, gradually getting more minutes. He's got 6 assists in the Prem and under 500 minutes played, which is pretty crazy to think about. It looks like this was his first full 90 minutes, maybe of the season, to be honest with you. Since Swansea in October, that's his first full 90 minutes of action. Again, Pep being very cautious with a new young player, but it's nice steps to see for Cherokee to continue to impress. And he is clearly impressing and has the trust of Pep, whereas some players on our bench do not have the trust of Pep Guardiola at the moment. That is for certain. Bernardo Silva, I thought he was okay. I understand he's kind of the linchpin of the Cherokee-Foden combination, but what does he offer really other than work rate? I don't know. I guess it's intelligence, it's tactical awareness, whereas other players might be in the wrong area if they're playing. But bar the intangibles that he brings, he doesn't bring much athleticism or goals or assists, and that is potentially an issue. Ideally, you could find someone who can bring the intangibles that he has, the smarts, but also have some goals and assists in him. That would be nice, in my opinion. And I don't know if that player is Elliot Anderson. Maybe it is. Maybe he joins at some point, but we don't have the Bernardo replacement in the squad at the moment. We just don't. I'm going to skip over Reinders for a moment and talk about Foden. Foden continues to be in flying form. I want to say he's up to 7 goals in the Premier League this season, or maybe, Premier League, 7 goals, 1,100 minutes, 13 starts, 7 goals. I mean, that's awesome. 9 GNA and 13 from a midfielder is lovely to see. He has been on a goal-scoring streak back to this Leeds game, 2-2, 1, none against Madrid, and then scored one yesterday against Palace. I mean, that is marvelous to see after a long period of time where people were heavy questioning Phil Foden's ability, and some people were even suggesting he be sold, which is just a madness to me to suggest that, in my opinion. But Foden continues his very good form, and it's nice. I will say I am a bit concerned on Tijani Reinders. I don't think he was particularly effective yesterday, and the more games he plays, the more times I go away from the game thinking, what does he really do? I don't really know about Tijani Reinders. Occasionally he'll have a really impressive game, like if you go back to the Wolves game in match day 1, he's the best player in the pitch, and we thought, wow, we have some player here. But those performances are few and far between, and I just don't really know what it's going to take to get that player back more often, because a lot of times you get these 6.0s, 6.1, 6, 6.5, and I don't really see it with him sometimes, and it is concerning. I'm not at the moment where I think he needs to be sold or anything, but clearly he does not offer much defensively. He's tall and not very good in the air, which is kind of strange. Doesn't do a whole lot defensively. He's not a very good chance creator. I don't know. Tijani is puzzling me a bit, and I feel like we should be getting more from him than we are. But one positive side is I do think that there is a player there, and maybe it just takes a bit of time to figure out the system, and then we'll be in a much better spot. Then we get on to Erling Haaland. He does get the man of the match, even though I did talk about how impressive Adam Morton was. Haaland played basically the whole game, gets 2 goals, his first penalty of the season in the Premier League as well, which is nice. He continues to get the lead for the Golden Boot in the league at the moment, and he affects the game in so many ways. He's got 16 matches in the Prem, 17 goals. He's on pace to break his record already, which, if he does that, of course, that's amazing. If not, as long as he's scoring a lot and we're winning a lot, that's all that really matters to me. But the guy's performances throughout this season have just been so good. He did have somewhat of a dry spell or so here with 1 goal in 5 games. But 3 in the last 2 is nice to see him getting back to his absolute best, the big freak that is Erling Haaland. So if you do look at the bench, though, like I was talking about, there's just not a lot of options at the moment. Pep is not rotating the squad really at all. This was the same lineup, essentially the same lineup, with either maybe one change for the last 4 games, I'd like to say. You have Savinho come on at the 85th minute, and then these are just token substitutions. Rico, Aït-Nouri, Marmoush, who are now gone for AFCON, by the way. We will not see them until mid-January at the earliest, I would imagine. And then you look at the rest of the bench. Trafford's obviously never going to play. Kusanov seems to have no chances to play with Diaz playing so well, Gvardiol playing so well. Ake's not going to get minutes, and even who would want Ake really to get minutes at this point? Mukasa is an academy product. And then you have Oscar Bob, who is linked with a loan away or a sale away. Unfortunately, you have an injury list that is also piling up. Doku, we have no real news on what's going on with him. John Stones, he might be out until January, instead of like December, but again, we don't know. Same thing with Kovacic, we don't know. And Rodri, allegedly back in training this week. But again, we have seen nothing about Rodri will be available for X game. We don't know. We just don't know, unfortunately. And that is concerning to me. I know we have a bloated squad in terms of the amount of players registered that we have, and players need to be sold in order to buy and strengthen in January, but it really feels like there is about 14 players that Pep trusts. It's these players here, this starting 11, and then you have Savinho, and that's 12. And then the other options would be Doku is 13, Stones is 14. That's about it. Omar Marmoush gets no minutes. I would put him as a number that, we can play, but Marmoush has had essentially one of the most minimal roles this season. 200 minutes in the Premier League in 16 games. He's actually only started 2 and played in 10. It's odd. Mark in the chat says, yo, what's going on, Mark? We are just discussing some of the squad problems, the depth issues at the moment, and Marmoush leaving is not ideal because, this cup game coming up would be nice for him to play the full 90 minutes, but now he's gone and we won't see him until mid-January. It's a very strange situation, the lack of squad depth that we actually have at the club. And with Doku's injury, again, we don't know about this injury, if it's serious or not, but he has played so many minutes for City. We know he has a history of injuries. Oscar Bob has barely played. Kusanov has barely played. Aït-Nouri has barely played. Rico Lewis has barely played. Savinho has played, but not particularly well. I mean, how many minutes does Savinho have in the Premier League? 440 minutes. He's only appeared in 12 and started 4 games. So the situation is not ideal for the squad depth. And I think that's why we're not seeing much rotation in terms of the 11 we see for each game. So it's concerning for me, and we just need to get to January and figure out what we're going to do as far as who's out, who's in, how do we make a title push for the Premier League and the Champions League, because that's what it's all about. With the win, though, it does put us in second place. We've got 34 points, 2 back from Arsenal, and Arsenal, I must say, are not looking great. We have a chance to potentially be, top of the table by Christmas. That could happen. We're 10 days away from Christmas, and we'll see. We might have an opportunity to go top of the table by then. We have Devin Mukasa. We will be fine without Marmoush. I mean, you say that, but Mukasa, I don't think has played any Premier League minutes. He's played 1 full game, 1 full 90. I hope he's awesome. I hope he's great. I would love it if we can just plug him into the lineup and get valuable minutes out of him and rest Haaland if we need to, or rest Foden or Cherokee, wherever you want to play Mukasa. But Mukasa's 18 years old or whatever it is. I don't know that we can count on him to be, a squad regular for the next 2 months. I hope so. I hope so. But we shall see. Now, there is a bit of other news in terms of transfers that I did want to discuss as well. So you guys can definitely let me know your thoughts on transfers in the chat, in the comments, in the post video, as always. I will pull them up here. I've got a bunch of stuff bookmarked so we can go over it because I think it's important. Here we go. All right, first on the list, the Rodrigo Glaze, man. The Rodrigo Glaze. Pep loves Rodrigo. He called him a boy from another level. Basically said he's, world class in a way. He's very, very good. I just think it's one to monitor. I'm not saying this happens in January, but I am saying monitor. It's one of the spaces to watch, an area to watch is the Rodrigo situation, who did score again, by the way, at the weekend for Madrid. That's just my personal opinion. I have that saved because I just thought it was an interesting quote from Pep after that Madrid game. Allegedly, we have agreed terms with Bournemouth over the fee, but again, the fee is a release clause, so I don't really know if that is true. We'll have here, according to, what's his name, Sami Mukbel, who may or may not be a fantastic source, I don't really know. He says City have emerged as the club showing the most interest in Semenyo as January approaches. Again, it's City or Liverpool, seemingly, for Semenyo. Did score today, played pretty well against United. There was some rumors about United being interested, but I don't think that is the case. I've really seen just City and Liverpool for Semenyo. In the Mo Salah situation, maybe complicates things a bit. Do we think Salah leaves in January and Semenyo comes in as the replacement? I mean, it's possible, but I don't know that Salah leaves in January. This I thought was interesting as well. Does say we are prepared to sell 21-year-old Brazilian Savinho, 21-year-old Rico Lewis, and 22-year-old Norwegian Oscar Bob in January to fund the transfer window. Now, while I think this source, Football Insider, is not the best of sources, I don't necessarily think this information is wrong or misleading. I think it's probably a guess. These players are not playing very much, or in Savinho's case, not playing very well, and we were open to selling him in the summer anyway. All of them have recently agreed new contracts, which I don't necessarily think complicates things, but it is notable that Rico signed one in the summer window, and so did Savinho after they did not leave. However, if we want to improve the squad, players have to be shipped out. It has to happen. It is impossible to just buy and add them to the squad. It doesn't work that way. Players have to leave. I don't see all three of these players leaving, but if City want to buy Semenyo, Oscar Bob or Savinho will have to leave the club in January, whether that's a loan or a sale with a buyback, I don't know. Rico Lewis could be used as part of an Elliot Anderson situation, potentially. Forest were interested in him. That would make sense to me. Maybe Newcastle are interested in Rico Lewis again. That could be used for Livramento. I think that's all on the table, but I don't think all three of these players leave on loan or sold in January. I just don't think that's happening. Mark says, no, don't sell anyone. Remember Julian Alvarez. To be fair, Mark, I was okay with selling Alvarez. Probably should not have been. Alvarez has been very good for Atletico Madrid, but Alvarez wanted to leave, and if a player wants to leave, City let them leave. These three, in Savinho's case, are not very good, and the other two are not playing very much, so I would think they're open to leaving. I don't see Alvarez in any of them, maybe bar Oscar Bob. I am most confident in the abilities for Oscar Bob of these three, but I think if they were sold, it would be with a buyback. Savino probably not, but Bob would be sold with a buyback. Rico Lewis would be sold with a buyback, which is fine. That basically mitigates all issues like Cole Palmer situation or a Julian Alvarez situation. I would think that is fine. The most likely scenario, in my opinion, would be an Oscar Bob loan in January. Loan maybe with an option to buy and then a buyback, or a Rico Lewis loan. And I don't think Savino is going to leave the club. That's just my opinion, but this source is out there and stated that these are the three questionable names for who goes so we can bring players in, because it is clear City want to make moves in January. Someone has to go in January to do this. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Moving on. Man City have entered the race for Said El-Mala from Cologne. Brighton had a 20 million offer rejected, and the big boys have come in. Bayern, PSG, Barcelona also tracking the player, 50 to 60 million euros to negotiate it. I've heard this name before. I'm not personally familiar with Said El-Mala. I don't watch a lot of the Bundesliga other than Bayern games for Vincent Kompany, but I have heard this name in the chat many, many times. Said El-Mala. So that would, I would say, this is a backup option to Semenyo, probably. Again, he is 19 years old. That is extremely young. I don't know that a 19-year-old is what City need in terms of what it's going to push us over the line for the Premier League or the Champions League. But I like the idea of, if we're going to buy him in the summer, we might as well buy him in January so he gets the initial 6 months of work with Pep. And if he doesn't play a whole lot, that's okay. If he comes in and he's the right wing of the future, I don't mind that we do it in January and move the purchase date up. That's my personal opinion. I'd have to watch some clips of Said El-Mala and maybe a Cologne game to see if, my actual thoughts on him. But it's a good source. Bild is definitely not a bad source. They were all over the Florian Wirtz news in the summer. So anything out of Germany, if it's Bild, is not bad. And Said El-Mala, City are interested at least. Then we get to the real, maybe biggest news of the day. Marc Guéhi has emerged as a leading transfer target for City as they prepare an overhaul of their defense next summer. There have been reports, of course, about Marc Guéhi for some time now. Marc Guéhi has been an incredible center back in the Premier League this season. One of the probably 3 or 4 best players, defenders in the league. Up there with the Arsenal defenders, up there with Ruben Diaz. And I would be all over this. I think it's a fantastic sign. He can play on the left. He's I wouldn't say very two-footed, I guess, but he can play with his left foot, which is nice, and that's a valuable ability for any player on the back line, of course. Notably, it does say they are preparing an overhaul of the defense. To me, an overhaul means John Stones is leaving in the summer. Nathan Ake is also leaving in the summer or in January. Ake out, Guéhi in January. I could see that happening. That would be a nice swap deal with a potential, maybe we send Ake and it brings the price down a little bit and we do some cash as well. Or maybe just a straight swap. I don't know how much they would value Nathan Ake, and Guéhi is down in terms of contract. It's up in 6 months. How much does that bring his value down? I would imagine quite a bit. Starshine says, I'm a big fan of Marc Guéhi. He's an amazing player and an amazing person. I've heard very good things about Marc Guéhi as a person, and I also am a very big fan. So I'm all interested in Marc Guéhi as, maybe the Stones replacement, a guy who can be a ball-playing center back. He's English, so that obviously helps with the homegrown. I like the idea of Guéhi in January, but it doesn't say in January it's Marc Guéhi. It just says leading transfer target. So, and the overhaul is happening next summer. That could mean we're waiting on a free transfer for Marc Guéhi, but I would think he is likely to move in January just because Palace will get cash for him there versus he'll leave on a free in the summer. I don't think they would want to lose a player as good as him on a free. I just don't see it happening. So Marc Guéhi, one to monitor, as well as Nathan Ake going the other way in January. Now, we do have some more Oscar Bob news. Like I said, it breaks my heart. You guys know I love Oscar Bob, but Crystal Palace are keen to sign City's speedy wide man, Oscar Bob. Um, I guess they're also after Brennan Johnson, and they wouldn't want to do the 40 million for him, and they would like to do Bob if that price is lower than the 40 million pounds. I would say Bob probably is in somewhere in the 20 to 30 million pound range, most likely, just because, he's got a lot of potential and a lot of hype around him, but we haven't actually seen much in terms of on the field performances. We've seen glimpses. If you go back to last season's preseason, he was maybe our best player, but we haven't quite seen that player in some time. Still dealing with that leg break, maybe, and just an overall confidence issue, which I hate to see for him because I'm a big Oscar Bob fan. But if he goes to Palace, maybe that helps with the Margay deal for us. I would like a buyback inserted into any sale for Oscar Bob because I think he can be a very, very good player. Will that happen? Maybe not. Maybe Palace don't want that and they just want a fair trade-off in where we get Gahey and they get Oscar Bob. You never know. You never know. But it could happen in the summer. This is Palace Report, which is an aggregator, and the source is Alan Nixon, who, 138K, I guess that's a good source. I'm not entirely sure. Again, Mark Gahey is more stuff I saved. It's from Hearst Class. Paul Hurst is a very good source there. I did save this because I thought it was interesting talking about Semenyo as a potential option in January. If you look at him versus Premier League wingers, he's had basically the best season of any Premier League winger so far. First in goals, first in expected goals, first in G&A, non-penalty goals, second, shots on target, second, etc., etc. The guy has been quality this year, took a great goal against United today, choked a player apparently, so that's, he hates United, I guess we can say. I just think he has got talent that we don't have on the right wing. And I know he plays a lot on the left, but he can play either side. That's a versatility attribute that Pep loves, of course. So I'm all for the Semenyo as an idea. Someone we can get in January who has a release clause. City like typically to do release clauses. I know that was Cheeky's thing, and now we've got Hugo Viana. Maybe he's a little bit different and willing to negotiate, but a release clause does make things a little bit easier in terms of getting a deal done, especially in January when there's a limited amount of time for things to happen, So I would be all about it. 65 million is maybe a bit pricey, but you got to buy, at the rate of the market. It is what it is. Do you think we robbed Leon for Cherky because he's not worth his price tag? Yes, we definitely robbed Leon for Cherky. He was, 30 million, 35 million, whatever it was. He's quite clearly double, triple that of a player. But he had contract issues with Leon, so that there's a lot that contributed to the lower price tag for him. But, if you look at the deals for Cherky and the deals for Florian Wirtz, it is rather clear we got the better deal in terms of, the actual value for money there for sure. And then the last news of the day, it's a little bit less notable, I will say, but Bayern Munich center back 16-year-old Cassiano Chiala flew to London to meet with City and Chelsea. They're interested. Jorge Mendes is an agent of many of our City players, and I guess they basically he is one of the most promising young talents alongside Leonard Carl, who Leonard Carl is amazing. I would love to sign Leonard Carl, but that'll never happen. He's basically Bayern's new star boy. And he's just a name to potentially keep in mind over the next few years or so. But it looks like Bayern are trying to get a contract done. But you never know. His dad met with City and Chelsea to see about a potential move maybe in the future, maybe in the summer. We shall see. But most notably of the day, transfer window situation. Mark Gahey, City want him. Antoine Semenyo, City are definitely interested in him. Those would be two fantastic January signings. Maybe difficult to get both. Oscar Bob, one to potentially watch as leaving the club. maybe a backup option for Semenyo, Saeed El Mala here, and then other players to watch potentially leaving Rico Lewis, Savino, and Oscar Bob, as I did already say. But anyway, that is most of the transfer news that I have seen personally. If there's any more, of course, you guys put it in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on any other transfer news that's out there. I do love discussing transfer news and everything Man City. So anyway, thank you guys for watching the stream. I do appreciate it. Like on the way out if you haven't already, and comment your thoughts like I said. If you are new, also subscribe. We are very close to 700 subscribers, which is pretty awesome. So thank you guys, and I will be back tomorrow for the midweek game